Ladies and gentlemen, this is again Bongani Shiba of Walk Tall with Shiba. And I am sitting here with a gentleman known as, to many known by Score, to quite a few known as Saif, and to even a fewer known as Saif Lover MC, and to Emabuto known as Pungalekazi. I am sitting with this gentleman that some have said is the first Liswati to invent a cell phone. The man behind Lukhele Mobile, others know him as Sifiso Lukhele. Sifiso, hi.
Hello, Bongani.
You will note that I do have some kind of studio audience because I did have to track the man down all the way down to his house in Joburg as we're shooting live with a family braai event type of situation. So if we get a bit of braai ambience, please bear with me, my fellow Walk Tall listeners. How are you doing, Swiso?
I'm well, Bongani, and thank you for having me. And thanks to your listeners for having me too.
Yes, listeners, thank you for having the Lukhele Mobile guy. Hopefully, right about now, he's going to tell us a little bit of his. Tell us a little bit of your background, your middle ground, your present ground, and maybe a little bit of your future ground.
Okay. If I go back, this is 43 years. I have to go back now. You're asking for quite a lot, I must say, Konat. But Fiso is a humble boy. Humble beginnings from Estwashini in Babane. Grew up there and went to Sifunzani to do his primary.
Hence the accent in Labanye. Yeah, I think it's a private school.
Thank you. Then moved on to Waterford. From Waterford, where I picked up the lovely names that he's now mentioned before, of Saif and Saif Lover MC. I finished at Waterford and proceeded on to the University of Swaziland, actually, to study my diploma of commerce. It was at that time when I went to El Tsidzini. Ngayobutheka ngabalubutho ngagana ingozi.
Oh hi.
Ngangena ebuthweni enganyetini yamswati.
Under the name
Pungalekazi.
Yeah. All right, so I can see that you're trying to take us 43 years back, but we do have just about 11 minutes or so to finish this up. What's your present ground?
My present ground, I think, I'm hoping most of you have read most of the articles about me, my present ground, but presently I'm an innovator.
YouTube now. I'm watching Secan Toys.
Go on.
I'm watching Secan Toys, Daddy.
Wow. Okay, go on.
Right. Where was I?
You were saying that you're an innovator as well.
Correct. Who came up with a concept because what I felt Africa didn't have was its own electronic devices. And having sort of grown up in the last 22 years in the mobile space, I felt that how come each continent has its own mobile phone, but Africa doesn't? Which for me baffled me because I believe we are greater than who we are. And I stood up to say that we can be represented with that.
All right. So presently, you're an innovator that has come up with the idea of having a phone that is specifically from Africa. What else is your present ground?
Okay. I also have a day job currently because I suppose like every startup, I still need to carry my family more than anything. So I have a day job where I'm an account manager with Comscope.
Comscope.
Yeah.
All right. And what does your future ground look like? It may not necessarily be in the near future, but who is Fiso Lukhele going to be
in the near future? Yeah, well, in the near future and the future, Sifiso Lukhele is the one who's harnessing all electronic products that are African made, African bought, and represent Africa worldwide.
Right. So basically what you're saying is you're going to be the guy that takes a phone that is made in Africa, to other parts of the world.
Correct.
Okay.
I'm not limited to the phones though.
Not to the phones.
There'll be laptops, there'll be tablets.
All right, you heard it here first. Lukhele Mobile is not only cell phones. It's going to be a lot of electronic gadgets coming from the Lukhele Mobile. All right. Sifiso, for a person like yourself, I understand you didn't even finish university. Like at least you didn't finish UNISWA.
Correct,
like the Steve Jobs and the Mark Zuckerbergs, who are also electronic leaders. Is that your inspiration?
Yes, it is, in a sense. Although I didn't set out to be like that.
Okay.
Because in the beginning, when I started university, I wanted to become like my father. My father had a BMW, and he was a registered accountant. So what I did was I went and studied accounting.
So that you could have a BMW.
Correct.
Right. Steph, I hope you're listening to this, because I have a feeling that you have the same idea. What is your inspiration, Mr. Lukhele?
My inspiration is helping people. What I can see is I'm an enabler, and with the kind of spirit that my father gave me is I'm able to interact with everybody, and I can enable things to get done.
So what inspires you is the ability to enable
Correct.
people to get things done.
Correct. So one of the biggest things that I see with Africa is that communication is key. As humans, we're nomads, so we're always moving around. So everybody's always moving around to try and make a living.
Right.
But you still want to communicate back home. How do you do that? You want to do it affordably. So with the current status quo, with your big players like the Samsung and the Apple, there's quite a big barriers of entry in having a mobile device. In as much as a cell phone is a regular thing now, there's quite a number, in a sense of maybe 500 million people in Africa who still don't have a phone.
500 million?
Yeah, out of the billion that we have.
Wow, that's okay. All right, so that your inspiration is being able to enable things.
Yes.
Right? Helping people. Can you draw maybe illustrate an experience from your past where you needed to be inspired and you drew from that thing that gives you so much inspiration? Like maybe one story where you being able to help or being able to enable helped you push forward.
Okay. I'll take it back to when my time in Swaziland, actually, when we were with Shape, and we were doing a couple of things under the HIV program as it was starting up. I think it was sort of mid-90s.
This is during your university years?
Yes, during my university years.
Okay.
With Shape. And what happened was, what I was able to see, a friend of mine, Fusil Tamin, because of the people that he knew, he was able to connect and get us into certain offices where there was a big barrier of entry before.
Mm-hmm.
So that being an enabler and a connector inspired me to say that, actually, if you become this person, there's a lot of power in being an enabler.
Being the one that opens doors.
Correct.
Even if it's not for yourself.
Yes.
Okay, so you gain power by being able to pave a way for someone else.
Correct.
Okay. So tell me something. What is it that people say about you that kind of irritates you or gets you annoyed? What people do or people say that just really gets to you? Even if it's about you or...
That's fine. The funniest thing is most people that I've interacted with believe that I don't smile a lot. Right? And with my not smiling a lot, they deem me to be arrogant. I don't smile a lot. I took that from my father. My father didn't smile a lot, and it's one of the things I inherited.
And your father was one of the friendliest people ever.
Correct.
Okay.
I would like to say that I'm also friendly as well. Most people who've taken the time to get to know me believe that I'm friendly.
May I just say, Mr. Lukhele, this is probably the most serious Walk Tall interview I've had, despite the fact that you're saying you're that friendly. I'm just saying. But let's move on. So how do you handle the situation when people, how do you set them straight? And why do you believe they say this?
It's because I don't know if I carry a sense of air with me, and you're saying this is the most serious interview that you've had, right? It's because everybody tends to think that when they're around me that they need to be serious.
So I'm supposed...
Probably because of my demeanor.
I'm being serious now. I'm the one that's being serious.
Correct. With my demeanor, it sort of forces people to become serious and very business-minded and let's get straight
how do
to
you
the point.
fix it then?
Unfortunately, that's the one thing I have not been able to. But I'd like people to believe that I'm not that hard and fast.
You heard it here first. The Lukhele Mobile guy, Sfiso Lukhele's store, is not an overly serious guy. He's not always about business. He does laugh every now and then. You heard it on Walk Tall with Shiba. Listen, if you had a chance to sit with anyone for an hour and have a conversation with, dead or alive, who would it be and why?
It would probably be my late father again, because I think he had huge pearls of wisdom, which I'm now appreciating in his absence.
And you're finding that it would be good for him to be back so you can reap, so you can mine for more.
Correct.
Okay, that's fair enough. Tell me maybe what one incident that comes up that you feel is still relevant now that he brought to you in his when he was still alive.
Okay, I'd probably say one life-changing moment, because everybody sort of deemed their father as this big beast that will always bite you when you've done something wrong. It was when my youngest brother got expelled. Actually, I went and I tried to represent him at the school as a former school going.
Yeah,
and after he got expelled and the verdict was given, I expected that when we get home, the young man is going to get the biggest lecture of his life. And then he turned down and he's just asked, so how did you get caught, really?
That was his
thing.
Okay.
And that for me was the biggest leadership move I've ever seen. So I'm very passionate about leadership and how you grow it within people.
Right.
And that for me was a turning moment, because he turned me into a leader. And you're like, sometimes you don't need to shout to get orders through.
Correct.
You just need to come down to the person's level and say, what's wrong?
How did we get here?
How did we get here? And how can I help you avoid getting here again?
All right. Okay. If we were to say you were to advise, let's say, the listener right now who is going through a downtime in their life, how would you advise them with maybe one practical solution on how to walk tall through their problems?
I think the name of your show actually says it all. Walk tall, because you can drop 7 times. Just make sure that you get up 8 times.
So it's just about getting up. It's not about listening to my show. Okay. I thought you meant by walk tall, it means they should listen to the show and then they walk tall.
There's a synonym. In a sense, it's a double header.
Sfiso Lukhele says you fall 7 times, you get up 8 times. It doesn't matter. Just keep getting up. All right. As about to close, Sfiso, I want to know a couple of things. I'm not going to ask this one because you already said BMW. So I was going to say Mercedes or BMW, but you've already said BMW because your dad had a BMW. Hip hop or house?
Hip hop.
Manzini Mbabane?
Mbabane.
Why?
Because I grew up in Mbabane.
Okay, because Johannesburg, Swaziland?
I spent the past 20 years in Johannesburg, so I'd say Johannesburg.
Johannesburg, okay. We've lost him, ladies and gentlemen. He's now very much Johannesburger. All right, there is no such thing as...
Failure.
There is no such thing as failure. Ladies and gentlemen, you have been listening to Bongani Shiba speaking to Sifiso Lukhele. Have a good one.